and succeed.
How to fix it.
This city has been
just a cookbook. It's part of
being hit here
with the latest global news and insightful documentary.
transition.
Understanding the world.
You're watching Luntha TV and it's time for our 7:30 news bulletin. My name is Tandy Zumara. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV prays for a fraternal world guided by peace and the Holy Spirit. National Planning Commission (NPC) urges faster development as United Nations report shows 55.9% of Malawians living in multi-dimensional poverty. Government moves to curb electricity crisis with 50 megawatts regional power import. And in other news, World Health Organization and Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention adopt Ebola response plan as Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) steps up hygiene measures. We do have the details to these stories and more, to stay with us. Pope Leo XIV marked Pentecost Sunday with a plea for peace, praying that the Holy Spirit would save the world from the evil of war and renew the Church in its mission to transform confusion into communion. Celebrating Mass in St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope centered his homily on the risen Christ's appearance to the disciples in the upper room, where Jesus showed them his hands and his side and breathed the Holy Spirit upon them. The Pope said the same upper room that had been marked by fear and betrayal became, through Christ's gift of the Spirit for the entire Church, the womb of the resurrection. We have more details in this EWTN news report read by Charity Chilanga.
The Holy Father framed his homily around three aspects of the Holy Spirit: peace, mission, and truth. According to the Pontiff, first of all, the Spirit of the Risen One is the Spirit of peace, and through his Paschal mystery, Christ restores peace between God and humanity, and the Holy Spirit pours this peace into our hearts and spreads it throughout the world. The Pope then described the Holy Spirit as the Spirit of mission, citing Christ's words, "As the Father has sent me, so I send you." He said we are truly co-workers of the gospel, the whole church in its protagonist, not merely its guardian, and through the power of the Spirit, our proclamation is filled with joy and hope, for we ourselves are the newness of the world, the light and the salt of the earth. Finally, Pope Leo said the Spirit is the Spirit of truth, who always promotes unity in truth and protects the church from partisanship, hypocrisy, and fads that obscure the light of the gospel. Concluding his homily, the Pope offered a prayer for a world wounded by war, poverty, and sin. After Mass, Pope Leo appeared from his study in the Apostolic Palace to pray the Regina Coeli, returning again to the theme of the Holy Spirit as the one who opens what fear and sin have closed. The Pope said the Spirit was poured out abundantly on the newborn church and is given a new to the faithful today as light and strength in every circumstance of life. The Pope also recalled the Day of Prayer for the Church in China, observed on the liturgical memorial of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Hope of Christians, who venerated at the shrine of Our Lady of Shishan in Shanghai. He invited the faithful to join in prayer with Chinese Catholics as a sign of affection for them and their communion with the Universal Church and with the successor of Peter. The Pope also remembered victims of a recent mining accident in northern China and entrusted to Mary the Christian communities of the Holy Land, Lebanon, and the wider Middle East suffering because of war.
St. Patrick's Parish Priest Father Kennedy Malemia has emphasized the importance of the parish, marking its 50 years of existence, saying the milestone should be celebrated in recognition of the journey and contributions made since its establishment. Speaking on Sunday during a press briefing at St. Patrick's Parish in Lilongwe ahead of the celebrations scheduled for the 30th of May 2026, Father Malemia said preparations for the event are almost complete with only final arrangements pending service providers. Patrick Pooper has filed this report.
Father Malemia said the parish is 95% ready for the celebrations, with all liturgical arrangements already finalized and Christians eager for the historical occasion, noting that the 50-year milestone reflects the parish transformation since 1976 from a small group about 100 members into a vibrant faith community of around 4,500, alongside key contributions such as a nursery school at Kauma, an office complex, and the renovation of the old church into a modern 2,000-seater structure. He further said the celebration should inspire Christians to reflect on their journey and strengthen their commitment to service, especially outreach to the less privileged through both material and spiritual support.
The parish, I think we are almost there, we are almost ready, because looking at what has happened so far, we are almost there. I think our treasurer already pointed out concerning the finances. We know we have, I think, a little shortfall, but we hope in the remaining 2 or 3 days, I think we'll be able to get some funds. But when it comes to the preparations, I think all the necessary things are almost done. What we are waiting for, I think, are just a few things.
Organizing Committee Treasurer General Agnes Sentara has confirmed that the committee is working to close a funding gap of about 3 million kwacha, despite total pledges exceeding the said budget of 36,105,000 kwacha, expressing confidence that the outstanding commitments will be fulfilled.
I can confirm that currently we have a deficit of about 3 million. I can confirm because we have pledges in excess of the said 3 million. I did mention that our budget is at 36,195,000, but if I'm to add all the pledges, I'm hitting 40 million. So I'm sure out of the remaining, those who have pledged and are yet to give us resources. And
the parish says the celebration will begin with a Eucharistic celebration at 9:30 in the morning, to be presided over by His Lordship Bishop Vincent Mokwawa, Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of Lilongwe. Established in 1976 within Maura Deanery in Lilongwe, St. Patrick's Parish has grown into a major center of worship, now serving about 4,500 families. The Golden Jubilee is being celebrated under the theme 50 Years of Grace, Anchored in Faith, Building the Future.
Rector for St. Peter's Major Seminary, Reverend Father Daniel Gamanga, has said the dwindling economy in Malawi has negatively affected operations at the seminary. Father Gamanga made these remarks on Saturday during the ordination of 13 seminarians as deacons in Zomba. We have more details on this report, followed by Andrew Mandolo.
Reverend Father Daniel Gamanga, who proudly describes himself as the chief chef in priest reformation, said the country's economic challenges have greatly affected the seminary's operations. Father Kamanga said currently dioceses contribute only 10% of the total amount required to train one seminarian per year, saying that contribution is too little considering the rising and unpredictable cost of food, learning and teaching materials as well as utilities. He added that the seminary requires about 800 million for its operation per year.
The biggest problem at present, as we all know, is the challenges of economy in the country. The seminarians, when you come here, there's a contribution of fees from their dioceses, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't make much contribution because it's only 10% of what we need here. So we have learning materials, we have food. So what I would capitalize would be food, because food has gone very high. So our food, accessories, utility bills, all these are problems to meet them. And today that's why I was mentioning that the best way to rejoice and celebrate is not just to dance because we have new ministers, we have new deacons, we have new priests. The best way to celebrate is to take part in the process to form these young men who become priests, because that's what we suffer here. So here the period is 9 years, the whole formation period. Here at St. Peter's is 5 years. In these 5 years we need a lot of support from the Christians.
In his remarks, His Lordship Bishop Yohanes Suzo Nyirenda, who presided over the Mass and commissioned the steering committee of St. Peter's 50 years Golden Jubilee celebrations, appealed to Catholics and well-wishers to support the formation of seminarians and contribute towards the Jubilee activities.
Currently, the staff is asking the diocese to pay little school fees towards the upkeep of these seminarians, and each seminarian is paying 1.2 million per year, which is not much if you look at the cost of food today. So that's why we are appealing to all the faithfuls to contribute in cash and kind, so that the formation is supported morally, spiritually and materially.
Chairperson for St. Peter's 50 years Golden Jubilee, Engineer Martin Chizalema, said apart from the celebrations, contribution towards the Jubilee will also assist its renovation of some structures at the seminary.
There will be a number of activities lined up to mark the event, which will include, apart from others, looking into the infrastructure of St. Peter's Major Seminary. There are quite a number of areas where they need some renovations. It is our intention that during the year we should carry out at least 1 or 2 projects that will show that we have indeed clocked 50 years since its establishment in 1977.
Currently, St. Peter's Major Seminary has 115 seminarians, of which 100 are resident at the institution. During the Mass, 13 seminarians from all dioceses except Karonga were ordained as deacons. Reporting from Zomba, this is Andrew Nandolo.
The National Planning Commission (NPC) has called for accelerated development efforts in Malawi following findings from the 2025 United Nations Development Programme (UNDP) Human Development Report, which indicates that 55.9% of Malawians are experiencing multidimensional poverty. NPC spokesperson Tom Kanje said the findings highlight urgent development challenges that require faster implementation of national strategies aimed at improving living standards. We have more details in this report filed by Gift Kalunga.
Kanje noted that while government is already implementing long-term development frameworks under Malawi 2063, progress needs to be stepped up to ensure that poverty reduction efforts deliver meaningful and timely results.
You mentioned the name of the institution is the National Planning Commission. So our job is primarily to plan. And what we have done as National Planning Commission is to ensure that Malawi has the plans in place to address all the issues that are affecting our development, including issues of water, sanitation, health, and the likes, as of outlined as they have been outlined in the Human Development Goals. So if you go to the Malawi 2063 National Vision, but also its implementation.
Economic expert Hape Chirwa also weighed in, urging Malawians to adopt stronger culture of self-reliance as part of efforts to reduce poverty. He emphasized that while government interventions are important, individuals and communities must also take active roles in improving their livelihoods.
A very conducive environment. Much as the government is trying to look at social funds, we appreciate on those ones. But now, let's create a conducive environment and then deliver the policies that can come in, more especially where people can help, can sustain and help themselves and sustain the social development that they are.
The 2025 UNDP Human Development Report shows that 55.9% of Malawians are living in multidimensional poverty with limited access to basic services such as food, clean water, health care, education, electricity, and decent housing, highlighting ongoing development challenges in the country. For Luntha Television in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
Minister of Energy and Mining, Jean Matanga, has said the persistent electricity blackouts affecting the country are expected to ease following plans to import an additional 50 megawatts of power through the Southern African Power Pool beginning this July. Matanga made this announcement amid growing public concern over continued power outages disrupting households, businesses, and industries across the country. Alison Banda has more details in this report.
Matanga said government is implementing a number of interventions aimed at stabilizing power supply and improving electricity generation capacity. According to the minister, the government has already finalized all necessary arrangements for the power import deal, with only Mozambique remaining to complete its side of the process before implementation begins.
The country, we are connecting to the Southern Africa Power Pool. This is through Mozambique. Our works are almost done. On our part, on Malawi side, we are done. We are done with all the works. I think it is on the Mozambican side. I think they need, about a month or so to go. So we should be now commissioning that line.
Once operational, the additional electricity imports are expected to ease pressure on national grid and help reduce frequency of load shedding currently being experienced in many parts of the country.
Remember that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today with me, Tandiwe Mzumara. Before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV prays for a fraternal world guided by peace and the Holy Spirit. National Planning Commission (NPC) urges faster development as United Nations report shows 55.9% of Malawians living in multi-dimensional poverty. Government moves to curb electricity crisis with 50 megawatts regional power import. And in other news, World Health Organization and Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention adopt Ebola response plan as Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) steps up hygiene measures. Proceeding with the news, government has called for stronger water resource management systems as Malawi and other African countries face growing climate challenges threatening agriculture, energy production and economic stability. Minister of Natural Resources Patricia Whiskers made the remarks on Monday during Africa Day commemorations held at the Bingu International Convention Center, BICC, in Lilongwe. Emmanuel Jiwocha has filed this report.
Whiskers said African countries must move beyond relying heavily on rain-fed agriculture by investing in irrigation and promoting sustainable water use practices to strengthen climate resilience and food security. She stressed that protecting water sources is critical not only for agriculture productivity, but also for energy regulations and sustainable economic growth.
That water is one of our most key natural resources. We say water is life. So as governments, as African countries, we need to make sure that we put in place initiatives that safeguard and protect our water resources. And this theme for the African Day is particularly relevant for Malawi.
Speaking at the same event, African Union Southern Africa Region Office Representative Ambassador Hilda Mafudze emphasized the need for African countries to strengthen regional cooperation in managing shared water resources amid the effects of climate change.
Very important. Even coming up with the theme of the year of water and sanitation, it means a lot about us. And as I've said earlier, we are endowed in this, but we need to be able to organize.
This year's African Day is being commemorated under the theme assuring sustainable water availability and self-sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Several countries attended the commemoration, including Zambia, Tanzania, Egypt, South Africa, Morocco, Angola, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. For Luntha News, in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Chiwocha.
The Malawi Health Equity Network, MAHEN, has raised concern over the increasing number of patients requiring oral and facial surgery, warning that shortages of specialists and limited facilities are delaying access to critical treatment across the country. MAHEN Executive Director George Jobe highlighted the concerns in an interview conducted alongside a free facial surgery outreach program at Kamuzu Central Hospital in Lilongwe, where vulnerable patients are receiving specialized surgical care. We have more details in this report, followed by Judith Ogan.
Jobe said Malawi continues to face a severe shortage of oral and maxillofacial surgeons, noting that only one specialist is currently serving patients nationwide. He called for increased investment in training more specialists and upgrading health facilities, saying the growing backlog of patients on waiting lists reflects gaps in the country's surgical capacity.
Needs for surgeries, or some may be having swellings, is very big in a way that we have some.
Meanwhile, chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Health, Anthony Masamba, said Parliament will engage relevant authorities to advocate for increased funding towards specialized surgical services and training institutions.
But also lack of professional doctors in these in the areas of dentistry and other issues. Here, they want.
Malawi's only oral and maxillofacial surgeon, Dr. James Mchanga, has called for the establishment of a dedicated dental and facial surgery hospital, as well as a specialized training school to increase the number of experts in the country.
We need to train the next generation of oral maxillofacial surgeons. And in that regard, our appeal is to say, can we have a facility where this is possible? Queens is a very good place. In other words,
stakeholders say that sustained investments in specialized surgical services, training and outreach programs could significantly reduce waiting lists and improve access to life-changing care for patients nationwide. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Judith Ogan.
Now, in other news, the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, over the weekend unveiled a 6-month Ebola response plan for outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. With a $319 million budget, the plan covers all 55 African Union member states. We have more details on this African News report read by Charity Chilanga.
Of the total budget, 265 million United States dollars is allocated for outbreak response in the DRC and Uganda, while 54 million United States dollars will go toward preparedness efforts in 10 high-risk African countries. In the meantime, authorities on the ground in eastern Congo are stepping up hygiene measures to combat the virus. In Bunia, the provincial capital of Ituri, the epicenter of the current outbreak, health workers were seen spraying disinfectants in the public market over the weekend. In some churches, hand washing is now mandatory and masks are encouraged. Authorities in Ituri have faced some pushback from parts of the population. On Sunday, young men stormed the Mongwalu General Hospital and demanded that 2 bodies of their kin be handed over to them. Over the past week, angry residents have attacked 3 healthcare facilities treating Ebola patients in the area. A rare type of Ebola known as the Bundubugu virus is responsible for the current outbreak. There is currently no vaccine for Bundubugu. The outbreak has killed over 200 people in the DRC, according to the Congolese Health Ministry's latest update on Saturday. The World Health Organization said more than 900 suspected cases have been identified in the country.
We now hand you over to our colleague Charity Mapondo with the weather updates.
And welcome. It's time for weather update, but firstly let us look at the observed minimum temperatures. So Mzuzu and Vumbwe recorded a minimum temperature of about 12 degrees Celsius, but Kamuzu International Airport, Bolelo, Shitedze and Kasungu reported about 13 degrees Celsius. We should expect windy and partly cloudy conditions with a chance of isolated showers mainly over the northern lakeshore areas. We should also expect Mwera winds to continue blowing over our water bodies. Therefore, all users are advised to exercise caution to prevent loss of life and property. All these conditions are due to the influence of cool and moist southeasterly air mass into our country. For tonight, expect partly cloudy conditions over most parts of the country, but tomorrow morning, cool conditions are expected over most areas. However, cold conditions are expected over Mzuzu and surrounding areas. Later in the morning, expect windy and partly cloudy conditions with a chance of some showers, mainly over the lakeshore areas. In the afternoon, warm conditions are expected over most parts, but Mzuzu and Blantyre are expected to reach a maximum temperature of about 24 degrees Celsius, 30 over Ngabu and Sanje. The same afternoon, expect windy and partly cloudy conditions with a chance of isolated showers over some areas such as Karonga. On Wednesday, expect similar conditions to persist, whereby partly cloudy conditions are expected over most parts of the country. Thanks for watching. I'm Charity Mapondo. Be wise, be weather wise.
That weather item also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. The look at the headlines once again. Pope Leo XIV prays for a fraternal world guided by peace and the Holy Spirit. National Planning Commission (NPC) urges faster development as United Nations report shows 55.9% of Malawians living in multi-dimensional poverty. Government moves to curb electricity crisis with 50 megawatts regional power import. And in other news, World Health Organization and Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention adopt Ebola response plan as Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) steps up hygiene measures. My name is Tandi Wemzumara. Thank you for keeping me company and to continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye for now and do stay safe.